Hello, I'm Donna Sawyer for the Finance News Network, and joining me is Jordan Belfort, who's probably better known as the Wolf of Wall Street. Jordan, thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.
Let's start with the easy question first. What brings you to Australia this time round?
Well, this time around I'm on a speaking tour here. I'm doing talks in Sydney and Brisbane and Melbourne and Perth, and working with sales people and sales managers, entrepreneurs, business owners, and also just general employees of companies, and teaching them a system I created many years ago called the straight line persuasion system, which really helps salespeople, influencers, business owners become infinitely more effective. Helps salespeople close their sales, in quicker, shorter sales cycle, at a much higher closing rate, getting referrals. So it really focuses on selling, but it also leads to a lot of other areas as well, just general entrepreneurship and stuff like that. So got a wide variety of people.
Tell me about your straight line boot camp. Is it for seasoned traders or mum and dad investors, or is it more for businesses?
No, it's not for investors per se. I'm not going through investing guidelines and stuff like that. This is really it's a strategy of how do you close the deal. There's lots of different aspects to entrepreneurship. There's, knowing how to run a business. There's knowing how to market your product, and there's knowing how to sell your product. And they're very different things. So if you're a business owner or entrepreneur, you need to learn how to sell your product and also how to train people to sell your product. Now, then going directly to the sales person themselves, there's people who go out there and sort of dabble in sales and make a bit of money, and those who really know how to sell and know how to close the deal. And those people are typically the ones that make the real big money in this world. So it's really about enhancing a certain skill set that you already have at some level, and by teaching a person the straight line system, they become infinitely more effective in terms of persuasion, influence, negotiation. So it's a very, very powerful skill.
Jordan, you are a story of both success and failure as chronicled in The Wolf of Wall Street. What has that taught you about the art of sales and persuasion?
Well, I think that if it's not grounded, meaning if sales and persuasion is not grounded in ethics and integrity, then it's going to end poorly. In other words, you'll make a little bit more money in the front end, because you do. If you want to lie, cheat, and really not care about the customer, yeah, you can make a couple of extra bucks up front, but it's not sustainable. It's not going to last. You're not going to feel good about it, and you'll typically end up either in trouble or broke, or both, like I did. So, my goal when I go around the world, I teach people a very, very powerful skill set with the straight line system, but it's about ethical persuasion, making sure that you're influencing people that should be influenced, and helping people to buy things they should be buying, not just selling for the sake to make commissions. Very big difference.
We know you went to jail for duping your clients out of $100 million. I would imagine you've learned a lot from that. Is your sales strategy more ethical these days?
Oh, well, here's the thing. It's not that the strategy is that different. The problem was never my sales strategy. Selling is selling. The problem is that what I was selling. I didn't get in trouble so much for selling. It was about manipulating stocks and not really focusing on the value side of the equation. So I think that, while obviously I've taken great pains to make sure that the system itself is, beyond ethical because of my own past. I'm like more sensitive than the average person. People think I'm crazy because when I'm, teaching, I'm always ethics. It's very important to me. But that was never the problem back in the day. The problem was what I was selling, and the fact that the mandate was sell to everybody. And by the way, that's not okay. You're not supposed to sell to everybody. Part of the system is learning how to weed out the people who you can help and those who don't qualify for your product, versus just trying to ram it down someone's throat, which is really unethical persuasion.
I know you've given up trading these days to focus on other things, but our viewers would be very interested to hear your investment philosophy because you made a lot of money during your peak. What was the key to picking a good stock when you were trading?
Well, to me, picking a good stock is about two things. It's really about taking a fundamentally sound situation, meaning coming with a strong balance sheet, strong long-term prospects, good management, good earnings trend, all the things that really matter to a company empirically, and then trying to time the buy with a near-term event, meaning try to buy it when it's on a dip, before the news is about to be announced, and obviously not inside information, but just trying to sort of anticipate by what's out there when an earnings is coming out, and just by not just buying at any old time, but buying on dips when the stocks are going down. I'm a big believer in the Warren Buffett philosophy, which is like I get greedy when other people are fearful, and I get fearful when other people are being greedy. So I'm a big contrarian like that. I always believe in buying when stocks are down, and versus buying them on the way up. So.
I'm interested in how you see the Australian share market from the outside looking in. Are there any particular stocks or sectors you would advise investors to look at on the ASX?
I think that, the Australian market is so mining centric. And the problem that you see right now with some of the junior miners is it's hard to raise money right now. So those companies that aren't cash rich and really can't fund the projects they have, they might have great assets in the ground, but that value probably won't get realized for a while. So I would be more likely to invest in the more established, the bigger houses, the BHPs, the Fortescues, the Rio Tintos, the ones that have money on the balance sheets right now to sustain what is kind of a sort of a negative environment for raising money for mining companies. So all these junior gold companies and iron ore and copper, and some of them have great assets, great prospects, but the timing might be a bit off right now because you might find them going lower versus higher because many of them are having trouble raising money right now. And the thing about junior miners is they typically run out of money and they need to keep raising more money. So it's a kind of a dicey time for them. So I'd stick with the bigger companies for right now.
What about your global outlook? Do you think volatility is the new norm across world markets?
I think that, yes, partially simply because information travels so quickly right now. So there's always something going on somewhere. So I think that the world is going to remain a volatile place. And I think that I think we'll get better and better. Probably the computers, as they get faster and more intuitive, will smooth out the spikes in the dip. Sometimes things, you see right now, there's a lot of overreactions and then over pullback, and then it shoots back the other way. So I think over time that'll smooth out so much. But I think the era of volatility is here to stay.
You're about to be played by Leonardo DiCaprio in a movie modelled on your story. How do you feel about it all, and do you think it's going to serve as a cautionary tale?
I feel pretty good. Leo's a good-looking guy, So my mother goes, "Oh, he's not good-looking enough." I'm like, "Mom, you're the only one who thinks that." See, at least to have a mother who loves you, right? But in all seriousness, it certainly will serve as a cautionary tale, and it also will serve as a tale of inspiration and I think motivation. And there's a lot of the sales stuff that I teach is in there, so I think people are going to really get a well-rounded experience at the movie theater, and I think they're going to really enjoy it a lot.
What's the biggest lesson you learned from your Wall Street experiences?
The biggest lesson in terms of business is that there's a couple things. Number one is that success in the absence of ethics and integrity is not a success at all. That if you just go out chasing a buck, I mean, you might make a lot of money. You'll probably lose it afterwards. You won't feel good about it while you're making it. But either way, success is about far more than just making money. It's about doing the right thing. It's about giving value. So I think that's a huge lesson that I learned, was that don't focus so much on just making money. Focus on giving value first, which is what I do now. When I go around the world and I do my trainings and I do my talks and I teach people how to close, and my goal when I'm pricing a product or giving a training, and whatever I do, I always try in my heart and my mind, my goal is to give 10 times as much value as I'm receiving back in money. I try that. Now, does that mean I always succeed? Well, everyone gives a bad talk once in a while, right? I mean, I don't really think I give really bad talks, but I'm pretty good at what I do. But the point is not really whether I succeed or not. The point is where my heart is. If you come from a perspective of goodness. Seriously, it might sound corny and stupid. If you come from a perspective, you really try to do the right thing, you try to give value, more often than not, you will give that value. And as a business person, I'm a very experienced entrepreneur and businessman, so monetizing value is a very easy thing to do. Once you give the value, people will always pay for something of value. So I guess my trick, so to speak, the shift that I made in my life was, rather than saying to myself each day, how do I make more money? How do I make more money? That's a question that will give you some good answers, and also you'll give yourself some bad answers. Like maybe I'll steal some, or maybe I'll just raise my price and and try to make more up front. That's not a very good answer to that question. So the question I ask myself each day is not how do I make more money, but how do I give more value? How do I reach more people with my message? If I do that, the money comes in automatically. So that's a huge shift for me. And by the way, I think for business owners, I think it's people seeing that around the world right now. I've met with a lot of the leading business people in Australia in the last few weeks. I do a lot of charity work here, and a lot of the major people are on the boards, and everyone really seems to be this understanding right now about giving value, and like that the money comes automatically, and that you can't just look to kind of take without giving. So I think there is a shift going on.
That's right, and I think a lot of companies have trouble conveying that value proposition. What's your advice to them?
Well, there you go. And by the way, is the saddest thing of all. And this is really what my seminar is about. That's what, when I give a talk, and I just find I gave a talk today to one of the radio stations here, 2GB, a great station, great people, and the question was, is how frustrating is it when you know you have a great product and you just simply can't explain it how great it is to someone else? And that's the problem. And that's really what sales at the highest level ethically is all about. It's about having something that's amazing and knowing how to essentially share that with someone, both logically and emotionally, so they can see themselves using the product and feeling good and getting the benefit. So that's really what I teach people. It's sort of system for, how do you package or present or sell someone an idea, a concept, a product in a way that empowers them and moves them to take action, but also gets you what you want to, which is to close a deal.
Finally, Jordan, moving forward, what are your goals and priorities these days? What do you focus on in terms of your personal growth?
For me, listen, I think my whole life right now is so much wrapped up in mentoring and giving these talks and working with entrepreneurs. So, for me, it's really about, reaching larger groups of people, and spreading my message in other ways where it doesn't require me always to be there, because it's obviously a limiting factor if I have to be on a stage. So I'm trying to do as much as I can with online, and I feel like for me it's really a process. I've always had tremendous success in business, but I'm also trying to spend a bit more time right now focusing on my personal life, my health, and sort of trying to take care of my body. So to me it's to really it's not about money. Money's always been very easy for me to make. I love making money, but it's also about having a bit more well-roundedness to my life.
Jordan Belfort, thanks for your time.
My pleasure.